Welcome.
Sunday. The truck and tractor pull coming to a town near you.
Inkpulp live tractor pull.
Bug Wars, the machine with a little bit of soul, crushing over those anthills.
The matchbox of all matchboxes.
What's
up, people?
Dude, Sean, we're here on Sunday.
We're here.
Exciting show.
Very exciting show. Very much.
Should we jump into our annoying promo stuff and then just get this thing rolling? Because we got some guests in the house.
Let me just say, welcome to Inkpulp Live, everyone. We're doing a special episode. We've got some a great guest here, possibly a second great guest. We'll get to them, but Jim's got some announcements.
Just got a text message from one of our guests. He's having some computer issues, but he's coming on.
Okay, great. Beautiful.
So, Jamie, can we show some visual information, if you don't mind? Guys, patches are here. Thug Society. It's officially happening. If you ordered the book through the Kickstarter, Savage Street Vigilante, I appreciate your love and support. You're getting the free patch. We ask that when you get this patch, you immediately sew it onto the right shoulder of your favorite jacket. Therefore, we know when we see you out in the wild to give you the magic hand signal.
Can I ask you a question, Jim?
Yeah.
On my Kickstarter, if I do a patch as a stretch goal, can I ask that people put it under your patch so we can have a sleeve of our community stuff?
For sure. That makes perfect sense.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So on the right hand side, guys.
Yeah.
What else we got? Ballpoint Slayer Volume 2 coming very soon. This is actually at the printer right now. I'm getting a proof on Tuesday of this. And Jamie, if you can go back to me real quick. Volume 1 still currently available on the shop of my website. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you guys are thinking. Jim, why are you trying to sell us another book when we don't even have Savage Street Vigilante yet that we supported? You guys relax, chill, babies. Chill. The book is here. The book is done. The book, it exists in the world. We're good to go. This is the big run of this is still at the printer because we had some issues with the cover stock. So, but we're in production on this and we should be getting these in a week or so. So we're there. We're at the final stretch with all this stuff. So
looks like both our guests are in the waiting room. This is gonna be exciting. But keep going.
Did I have something else, Jamie? What was I got
this one.
Brand new piece of Savage Street Vigilante fan art that I wanted to shout out. This is from @Punish Comic on Instagram, and he usually posts in our chat as gingerbear_house. But dude, this guy is awesome. And Jamie, can you show his Punisher? He's working on a Punisher parody comic right now as we speak. Look how badass this is, man.
Yeah, that's fire.
Looks so cool.
So shout out to Punish Comic on Instagram. Really cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then we have upcoming. The next Trash Movie Bonanza that Jamie's currently editing is Chris and I talking about Step Up to the Streets with Jorge Corona and his wife Morgan Beam.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Good move, Jim.
Awesome. Going to be an incredible show. And as you guys know, we started this whole stupid thing with Step Up 2 on Jorge's appearance on Inkpulp Live. So that's part 1 of this stupid Step Up thing. And then part 2 is us actually fully reviewing this amazing, terrible movie on Trash Movie Bonanza.
And Jim, you better get ready because in Chicago, we're going to have a Step Up to the Streets dinner party with our friends Jorge and Morgan.
Yes, and a dance battle afterwards. I'm ready.
In the streets.
I've been practicing the moves of Step Up. I don't know.
Is that all your announcements, Jim?
Is that everything, Jamie?
I think that's it.
All right, let me grab the screen for a minute here.
Yes.
All right, people, it's coming. It's coming. My new art book, which is not just an art book. It's a look inside my art. It's gonna be. It is. It's not even gonna be. It's all made. It's gonna be. It is. I don't know how many times I gotta say that. It is a process-driven book. It's about my craft. So while there is finished pieces in there, you'll see thumbnails, pencils, inks, paints, and little explanations of what I was going for, why I was doing something. So I think it'll be a really unique and fun little art, not little, but a fun art book. And just so you guys know, my new sketchbook, not my new art book, my new sketchbook will be free if you sign up for the pre-launch page of my art book and pledge at any level. But that will go live. My launch page will go live March 1, so a couple weeks from now. So more
Dude,
on
that's an
that.
incredible deal.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm working it. I'm working it for the people, Jim.
I like what you got going on. The preview stuff I've seen of the book is exceptional, man. People are gonna
thank you. Yeah, I gotta send you
bug
guys.
out.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of bugs.
I didn't even.
Hey.
Guys, if you have not picked this book up yet, immediately go out today. It's Sunday. You got the day off. Hit your local comic shop. I read this bad boy last night. This book's fucking awesome, dude. It's amazing.
It's a really good book. I've been enjoying reading it too. And speaking of which, Jim, what if we had the creators of that book on the show today?
Oh shit. Let's just bring them on right now. Is that cool? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
We've got Jason Aaron and Mahmud Asrar, creators of Bug Wars, here with us today. What's up, fellas?
How's it going, guys?
Fantastic. You guys, thanks for doing this.
I should have done this from Jim's studio. I could have.
I know you could have
Jim's house and done this.
Yeah, you should have.
You could have just sat right. You could just be sitting right here,
right,
and just critiqued Jim the whole time.
Yeah.
So, Jason, Mahmud, I am going to apologize if I end up murdering any of your characters. My goal is not to mess up your beautiful creation, but to celebrate it today.
Well, I mean, it's a book where people get murdered a lot, so
okay,
we're okay with that. Yeah.
Okay, good.
We were talking to Mahmud before we went live, and we were complimenting the level of gore, action, brutality, some horror, which I'm a huge horror fan, and there's some like horror moments in this that
yeah.
You know, it's you guys obviously just being able to do what you want to do, which it's just the best comics, man. Like it's great. How much fun are you having working on this?
You want to go? You want me to go? Okay,
I can go. Yo.
Yeah, you go.
I'm having the time of my life, really. Seriously, as we were saying before, you know, like we are doing stuff that we couldn't do elsewhere, you know, like with all the violence and, you know, like nudity and whatever, you know, which is a plus, but that's not the main thing. Of course, the main thing is, of course, that we have really fun story and fun world that we created and, you know, built from the ground up, and we're really enjoying working in there, and it's a blast. And, you know, like we got some fantastic characters. I mean, I can say freely because it's Jason's creation initially, and I just visualized it. The rest is up to the viewers, I would say. But, you know, like, yeah, it's a blast. And it's great to draw some, you know, penis and balls at times.
Yes.
or some you know, pistons, you know, flowing out of a guy's, you know.
Wait, wherever. I could just spend the whole show drawing a giant cock and balls. I didn't know.
Oh, shit. Don't encourage Sean to.
I find it always so surprising that all us artists are so easy to draw some penis and balls and stuff like that. It doesn't take much to encourage us to do that stuff.
Well, Mahmud was so excited. It was really like, it's like page 2. Right. There's a tiny little naked guy.
I saw
with his cock out, and Mahmud was so happy to like send me that.
Yeah,
and say it was his first time ever sending a dick pic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's true.
The shackles have been released. I can draw freely now.
It's so funny because we can't actually show that on YouTube, which is so lame. Like you can't show a cartoon. You can't show cartoon nudity on.
You got to buy the
YouTube.
book. You can't give all that stuff away for free, Jim.
That's true. That's true. I was gonna, I don't want to do any spoilers on this, but it seems like, I mean, this is you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with this because it's like, is this more than how many pages is the story?
Story wise is 37, and then there's there's like 5 pages of back matter. So it's it's a big honking issue. With the nice,
dude, the map.
We did
the map
nice
in the back of this.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
I love the map by.
You gotta have a map.
Yeah,
you gotta have a fantasy map. So that I mean that map, I drew that map initially, like a really shitty version, and then Becca, a great designer, cleaned it up. But that's my backyard from when I was 10 years old. Like that's my exact same.
That's
backyard
awesome,
I played
That's
in.
amazing.
So, Jason, was some of this story inspired by like a 10-year, like an idea you had when you were 10 playing in your backyard?
I mean, I think that's totally the root of the book. Like it's in some way the most personal thing I've ever done, and because that's my house, that's my giant pine tree covered front yard that I'd have to mow sometimes. And then the huge backyard surrounded by wood. So the shed, the honeysuckle fence, the big blackened area where we burned our trash, like all that stuff is real. Only thing that's missing is some of the junk cars that my older brothers would have back there. But yeah, I spent all my time playing in that yard and playing in those woods.
Jay, was it the burning the trash thing? Was that like something that just happened in the community? Did no one gave a shit? It was just.
Your country, Jim. Like you grow up. Nobody's coming to pick up your trash. Well, I'm not saying it's a good idea or that you should burn your trash in your backyard, but I'm just saying that's what we did.
Yeah.
And it created this. I mean, in the book, we like the book. This first arc, we don't go to that place yet. That's still unexplored, but. When we do go there, it's going to be basically like Mordor. It's like all blackened and burned, just melted chunks of plastic everywhere. And the people who live in the burnt place are pretty fucking crazy. Pretty scary.
Wow, yeah, they're almost like desert dwellers or something. Like
it's like
people that live in Arizona. It's like their minds get melted after a while. It's kind of like.
It's like people aren't supposed to live here. This is miserable.
Yeah, that's because I lived in Arizona for 6 years, and I was young and dumb enough to not realize, like, humans aren't really supposed to live here. Like these summers are so insane that you can't exist without air conditioning.
Sure.
It's just a thing of like, we're probably not supposed to be here.
Yeah, you go there and it's everything you see has just given up. The tops of all the cars, anything that exists outside is just sun beat and battered, and you can tell just wants to die.
Yeah. And these are notes from their dad, James Slaymaker. There's Sid and Slade are the two brothers. And by the way, Slaymaker is like the best last name ever. That's
It sounds made up, right? But that was my son's pediatrician, Dr. Slaymaker.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay. Oh, also, you guys got you got Matt Wilson on colors on this book, and Matt is incredible. Matt is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. One of my favorites, probably the favorite colorist I've worked with.
Yeah, Matt is one of the best, for sure. And we worked with him on Conan as well, so we brought back the team together for this one.
That's
so
great.
It's great having him on board,
Nice, man.
Mahmud, was this your first creator-owned project?
No, actually, I started out doing creator-owned stuff. If we go really way back, back to the 90s, when I used to live in Turkey, I used to do fanzines and stuff. We created our own stuff and we made those. But, after I turned pro, I actually made Dynamo 5, which came out from Image Comics with Jay Ferber. So this was back in about 2006, 2007.
I remember that. I totally remember that. Yeah.
And then I started doing gigs for Marvel and DC and stuff like that.
So how does it feel coming back to create our own after all these years at Marvel and DC?
It's amazing, man. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it's been like a pipe dream kind of thing. I was thinking I should go back to doing my own stories, my own books, and whatever. And it just felt like I kept delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. This especially hit me during the pandemic. I think like I felt like I should go back to doing my own stuff. I guess we started talking with Jason about that. Around those times, I would say, I bugged him. There's a pun over there.
Nice. Well done.
It'd be nice to do something create your own with you and stuff. And maybe a couple years later, he came up and told me about this, and we moved on from there, I guess.
That's awesome. And Jason, you had this story, because I read your outro for the issue, and you had this story kind of stewing around, right, for a while.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I think 40 years. Like from when I was a kid, when I lived in this house in Piney Woods, Alabama, and was playing in that yard. That was also when I first discovered comics. First started pulling books off the spinner rack at the drugstore.
Yep.
One of those books in our early mid 80s was Sword of the Atom, the Gil Kane Jan Strand miniseries where Adam, like, he gets stuck at 6 inches tall and he lost in the jungle in Brazil, and he discovers this civilization of tiny alien people who ride frogs and fight with swords, and I loved that book. I'd never read. I think that was before I'd ever seen like The Littles on Saturday Morning, or before I knew about The Borrowers, or any of those kind of stories. Years before Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But that story always stuck with me, and I was always fascinated by those kind of stories, by the stories of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where people get shrunk down and go on adventures, and then also the stories of hidden civilizations of tiny people. So I've been wanting to do a story like this for a long, long time. And it kind of percolated and stewed for a bit. And then Mahmud and I started talking about it. And then we took a long time just developing it. I mean, Mahmud's being, not taking full credit by saying he just visualized what I created. That's not at all the way it went. Like, we worked for years of him, like, designing all these different tribes of mites, because they're they're different. They're kind of different cultures, different societies. So there was a ton of world building that we did, and it's just a backyard, right? It's just one kid's backyard, but this is also like basically Middle Earth and the Hyborian world, where there's all these different kingdoms within that yard. So so Mahmud has done amazing work designing and visualizing all of that. So we worked on this first issue. I mean, I probably wrote this issue, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe.
Oh wow. Okay.
We've been working on this book for quite a while.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I mean, when you do something like this, you have to create an entire world just from scratch. I mean, the amount of world building that's involved with this, everything has to be designed. Everything has to be figured out. It's that, just looking at this as an artist, just the visuals, it's like, well, all of this, you have to make decisions on the design, the aesthetic, and literally how all this operates and works, man. It's a big piece of work.
I love how huge in scale the whole book is, like, in terms of the design work you had to do and the world building, but it's a story about things that are small in scale.
Yeah,
definitely.
We did spend a lot of time creating the whole world, and it was not only just like designing and stuff, but it was really a lot of research also going into this, like, because we had to learn about bugs and how their lives looked and how they would appear in our stories and stuff. But aside from that, of course, I had to figure out how to actually draw bugs and like how to actually convey how they would move on a page and stuff like that. So it was like I've never really done that before. I've of course drawn animals and stuff, but not so much insects. But so it was a lot of learning as well. So it did really take a lot of time and effort bringing this to what we have right now.
Yeah, I think we keep trying to figure out just sort of designing the look and understanding what things are made of in this world is kind of a challenge, right? Because it's not it's not like doing a regular sort of sword and sorcery book. Like, these are tiny bug-sized people, so a lot of them have armor and weapons that are made from organic materials. So some of them are kind of made from pieces of bugs. Some, like the ant people, have the capability of foraging, so they have metal. But then also figuring out, where, like, in what way do these tiny people use things from our world, right? Like, so when do you see things that we recognize that are man-made that find their way into this world? So, that stuff I think will continuing to be figure out, as the book goes.
Yeah, I loved all the design touches, like seeing the armor made of, like, seeing leaves and all the natural stuff around them being used.
And Mahmud, man, when you take on a book like this, I mean, you have to want to draw, like, drawing animals or drawing creatures or drawing insects or whatever. Like, as an artist, that's a commitment. Like, that's a decision of, you have to want to draw this stuff, right? Like,
right.
So, and I mean, you're really great at doing all the stuff that's in here. So it's kind of like, was this the perfect project for you to sort of be like, yeah, I'm going to immerse myself in this crazy bug world for a while?
I mean, it's, I guess, a yes and no situation. The thing is, like, I do love animals, drawing animals. Contrary to many artists, I actually do like drawing horses and dogs and things like that.
Right.
So that was one thing I liked, but I've never really done that with bugs, and in real life, I've never actually been fond of bugs. I have this sort of phobia kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Really afraid, but I'm really very, very creeped out by bugs and stuff. And when Jason came up with the stories, I had like, whoa, I had to think about it, for a moment, and consider what I was getting into, because it did require a lot of learning and everything like that. So I was intimidated at first, but I loved the idea. So, and I try not to run away from challenges, so I said, okay, let's go forward with this, and
yeah.
Were there moments in research and designing or working on the book where you got really creeped out, like having to draw or study a bug?
Actually, no. Which is the funny thing is, this actually, helped me overcome my, maybe so-called fear of these animals, because I got to learn them a bit, learn about them more and understand what they are, and I came to, like, this will sound corny, but like when you're afraid of the stuff that you don't know. So, like, the more I learned about bugs and insects and stuff, I felt I was more comfortable with them, and like looking at them and studying them and whatever, So I actually overcame that quite a bit, quite fast, I would say.
Nice.
Well, I think we say this is the book for people who love bugs or hate them. Either way,
right. If you hate them, you can live vicariously through Sid, who is just like brutally murdering the bugs throughout this issue.
This book kills more bugs than any comic that has ever existed. What do you guys want me to do while you're drawing? I mean, I thought you guys were going to be drawing me. Like, I was prepared to like do some new modeling for you.
Oh shit!
We're already drawing you.
Now I just feel useless.
That's the after hour show. That's the
gotcha.
That's the Patreon
That's for you.
exclusive.
Okay.
It's the Patreon. Yeah, exactly. It's funny because these bugs like this one, what is this guy called? Like the rhino beetle or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like looking at photo reference of these things, they actually do look like monsters, So I could see how you guys were able to literally turn these into monsters that like people could ride, and that would be a source of destruction in a comic book setting. It's cool.
Yeah, there's some cool Instagram accounts that do like really high resolution close up shots of insects, and so many of them do look like crazy Mike Mignola designed creatures.
Yes.
Once you see them up close. And so all the insects in this book are real insects, right? Like we're not making up any bugs yet. We may get there eventually, but these are all real world bugs that you see in the book. They just all, the weirdest, most exotic insects from around the planet happen to be in this one backyard in West Bottom, Alabama. But they're all real bugs.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
And so
just Google.
Oh, sorry. Go
ahead. I was just gonna say, just Googling some of this stuff, it was like, oh wow, that's an actual real creature that exists. That's very bizarre. Yeah.
Part of the back matter each issue, like you get a few pages of sort of insights into the tribes of mites. The mites are the little tiny people. Like the first issue, we talk about the beetle riders, who are kind of like, they're the Conan of the yard. They're the barbarians of the yard.
Right.
Or no, sorry. That's issue 2. Issue 1 is the Ant Imperium, who are kind of like the Roman Empire. But then we'll also talk about like a page of kind of bug facts of like issue 1. It's like, these are some of the real life ants that you'll find in this yard. Because ants are incredibly bizarre, right? Like just how advanced some of their societies are, and how massive and sprawling they are, and there's ants that explode and spray you with acid and all sorts of crazy stuff. So we'll do that every issue. Issue 2, you get a bunch of weird beetles.
Nice.
And then I think issue 3 will be spiders.
I'm excited for the spiders. I'm very excited for the spiders. I also like the foreshadowing of the spider stuff.
Yeah, you just get issue 1, we sort of bounce around the yard at one point and kind of give you a tease of like, these are some of the tribes that you'll meet, but really showing them just from like a human perspective. So it looks just, it's a wasp nest or it's a pile of brush.
Right.
And as we follow Slade's journey, then you start to see it from the tiny bug size perspective.
That's awesome, man. And Jason, you've been like the last 2 years. I mean, you've been so busy, and I know last year you were it almost seemed like you were on tour with doing tons of conventions and appearances and promoting. Like I felt like you did a really great job of just letting people know, from Ninja Turtles to Absolute Superman.
Yeah,
a lot of amazing stuff going on, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a busy fall. I may have overdone it a bit on the travel, because I also bought a house in the middle of that, and so that almost killed me doing all that.
I remember at DragonCon we were talking about that.
Right. Yeah. In part, I did all that travel just so I could have more meals with Sean.
You see that Sean has incredible taste. Like Sean knows where.
Jason got the full experience. I could tell when I invited Jason at DragonCon, he was like, "Yeah, I'd like to see you guys, but I got other stuff going on." And then after the first dinner, he was like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah.
Well, I think we were still at the first dinner, and I was like, "Where are you guys going tomorrow night?"
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And now you'll be coming to Kansas City soon, so.
Oh, I'm very excited. Yeah, I can't.
I've already got some thoughts on what.
Oh, great.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. Planet Con guys next already next month. Like it's crazy.
Yep. But yeah, I last year was a good fun year for me with, like I moved away from being Marvel exclusive the year before that and started working for DC for the first time, and then kind of all these opportunities popped up out of the blue that I never would have been able to say yes to before, like Absolute Superman and like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I got to write Uncle Scrooge for the first time and did
That's
right.
fun. That's
Conan.
right.
So that was fun, just being able to kind of work for whoever I wanted to work for. But kind of through all that, we were also working on Bug Wars. We'd been working on that for a bit. So I think for me, for a while now, it's been Superman, Turtles, and Bug Wars have been kind of the three main things I've been focusing on.
Right.
That's a good balance right there.
Yeah, I love doing work for hire stuff. Like nobody ever puts a gun to my head and makes me do a book. That's never happened to me in 20 years. Like I always do stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's important to me to always do creator-owned stuff too. Like I just like that balance of it.
Yeah, man. It's
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
It's and you're able to, like, there's something rewarding about being able to do like work for hire on a major IP and making your mark on that, but then also always having like the creator owned thing where you guys can just completely cut loose and do crazy shit,
Right.
Like that's
where nobody's going to tell Mahmud he can't have this tiny barbarian guy's cock out on page 2.
Exactly.
The same page he's cutting somebody's head off too, right? Isn't that the same page?
Yeah.
I want to be free to cut people's heads off. And show the penises all around and stuff like that.
Oh man.
He's such a sweet guy on the outside. You don't know.
I know.
There's all this
I know.
darkness
This is
rolling
all a
around.
new side to me. I haven't seen this side of Mahmud.
That's like all artists. I think most artists are twisted in a way with what they're able to get out of their system on paper, and most people are pretty sweet and mellow in real life. I don't know too many real life psychos that are
Right.
Too many? Just a few.
yeah, a couple.
Just a couple.
Seriously,
So,
we do have some nudity and stuff, but the book's not about that. So like, we don't want to give the wrong impression as well. So
I mean, it was important. It was important, I felt, in that opening. I mean, the opening is kind of the beginning of a big battle scene, and it is important to show you kind of the tone of this book, that this is not
right.
I mean, you hear the pitch for it and you think, oh, that's a kid's story, right? That's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right.
And it's that kind of setup of what it would normally be, that sort of story, and the main character is a kid. But we show you right from the get-go of that opening of like, this is not the kids' version of this story. This is the dark, violent, adult Game of Thrones version. So when this kid shrinks down and goes on this adventure, it's not a happy freewheeling Miyazaki adventure. Like, this is the one where he may die horribly and his entire family may die horribly. So we kind of set the tone of that right out of the gate with, Mahmud and Matt Wilson doing this huge, epic, blood-drenched battle. And also show you, even though everybody is small in this book, the scope of it is really big.
Yeah, and the reveal of what happened to the dad definitely sets the tone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful moment in the story where I was like, oh, this is taking a nice turn.
Very sweet.
Yeah, some straight horror and also,
exactly.
man, like, are you like with the Sid character and also Jason with like a lot of the stuff you did on the Punisher? I feel like there's this almost like heavy metal aspect to like Sid looks like a heavy metal guy, like literally, but I also feel like there's an aesthetic and an attitude. Like when you have the Punisher, man, like punching through people's heads and stuff, there's there's something that's so metal about that. Like it just becomes a very over the top kind of thing. Is that, Jay, are you a metal fan, or is that part of the aesthetic of?
Yeah, I mean it's both. Like I wouldn't call myself a huge metal fan. I mean, growing up as a kid, I was a hair metal fan. Again, going back to the '80s.
Yeah,
I was like Motley Crue and Quiet Riot and Rat and Poison.
Yes.
Like that to me was metal.
Oh sure.
But I mean, I think like when I did Thor, with Assad, especially right out of the gate, like we were going for a very heavy metal aesthetic. Like to me it was like I wanted dark Kirby. Where it was horror and sci-fi and fantasy all mixed together. And this feels similar. I mean, I think like I've said, on one hand, this is a book that I really feel like I've been moving towards doing for 40 years, but I think this was kind of the right time. I think I needed to have done what I did on Thor before I was ready to do this book. And, I think Mahmud and I needed to have done what we did on Conan before. So I do think there's a lot of that stuff, not just the obvious fantasy elements of it, but again, that sort of mix of genres and the feel of the Thor stuff, and plus stuff I've done like Southern Bastards and Men of Wrath that are more like personal Southern stories.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You kind of cram all that stuff together and you get Bug Wars.
Yeah. And
by the way, and like I do feel this story has a lot of metal in it. And
yeah,
because Mahmud, you're a metal fan, right?
Yeah, I'm very much into it. And interestingly enough, people with age get mellower and stuff like that, but lately I've been listening to even heavier music. So I don't know what's wrong with me, but yeah.
Like what do you listen to?
I mean, in general, I would listen to hardcore punk kind of stuff, but lately I've been moving more towards even stuff like death metal and doom and stuff like that. So
oh yeah, man.
Yeah, some of the recent stuff that I listen to are pretty heavy, and so I really enjoyed that. Like grindcore and some power violence and things like that. So and yeah, the thing is, like, with the connection with the book, we're actually putting together a playlist of songs we feel that would suit the book. So like most of the songs that I put on there are quite heavy stuff. So, and we hope to publish the book.
Yeah, we need to put that out. We'll link it in.
I think that's a really smart idea to have a playlist go along with the creator-owned book.
I think it's a fun idea.
Yeah.
I like playlists that go along with everything. Like one of my favorite bars in town, the Fern Bar. Like every one of their cocktails has a playlist, has like a QR code to scan and pull up the playlist. So
oh really?
Fun. Like I like everything to have a playlist. But I mean,
I need to check that place out.
Oh well, yeah. Well, we'll go when Sean's here. You'll love it.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
I don't listen to music while I'm actually writing. Like I don't listen to anything, but I always build playlists just of stuff I'm listening to when I'm thinking about the book, like, which is, to me, is always the real work, like the stuff I'm figuring out while I'm just taking a walk or driving in the car is like the tough part of it. So I do, like, I love the Sword. I listen to the Sword a lot. Like,
they're great. Yeah.
Like bands that sing about wizards and
yes,
barbarians and have album covers that look like they came from the 70s.
Yeah,
I love that. I found
that's why I brought that up with some of the work. It just seems like, because I'm such a huge music fanatic, I just feel like there's the soundtrack to what's happening on some of these pages is in my mind is pretty obvious of what, like, I would hit play on if I was DJing a set to these visuals, and even Scalped, man, has like a real, that was the first thing I ever read of yours, and that I thought that had its own kind of brutal, no nonsense aesthetic to it.
Yeah, and that pretty quickly in Scalped, I want to say like issue 3 or 4, I stuck a playlist in there. Just you see a jukebox, like Dash has got a jukebox looking to play a song, and so you just see all the songs that are on the jukebox, and that was my Scalped playlist.
Oh, that's clever.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, nice.
That's
but
great,
yeah,
man.
I discovered this band recently called Castle Rat. Who?
Oh yeah, I know them.
You know them?
Yeah, I just saw them a couple months ago or something. I mean, on YouTube.
They look crazy. I mean, they look like they came from a Renaissance festival in 1974.
The vocalist looks kind of like Red Sonja and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
They look like when you see all the old original cosplay from San Diego Comic-Con and 1975. It looks like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's cool. That's like Frank Thorne and Wendy Peeney.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just gonna say that. Just gonna say like some Wendy Peeney shit.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's definitely some ElfQuest in Bug Wars. Like I was a huge ElfQuest fan growing up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Love that book.
Yeah,
I mean, it blew my mind. Like a book with horny elves.
Right.
When you're like 14 years old, you're like, holy shit! Like this is. They skipped this part in Lord of the Rings.
So, Jason, you originally had to buy comics off of like a grocery store rack or whatever, and then did you just was there a shop in your town that you eventually discovered, or did you have to travel to go to a store?
It took me a long time before I ever went to a comic book store. Like where I grew up was Jasper, Alabama, there were no stores. There was just the drugstore spinner rack, and there was a used bookstore there. At one point, I found some issues of Vigilante there, like the kind of around.
Oh wow!
I think one of them was one of the Alan Moore issues, which were direct market books, so I'd never seen them before. And I was like, "What the fuck is this? Where did this come from?"
Right.
So I subscribed to them. That was the first time I had a subscription.
Oh, okay.
I remember that. Oh my god, yeah.
And I love that book, Paul Kupperberg. Such a fun, incredibly dark series. But so I didn't go to a comic book store until I was probably 15 or 16. Around Birmingham, around the city, and from there it was owned. Where I would go to that store religiously and follow them when they moved to like a shittier location, and then they'd go out of business. Then I'd find another store and follow them around. So I had like an endless series of comic book store relationships during my time in Alabama.
Yeah. When you subscribe, man, was it the era when they would just like fold the book in half and send it to you?
Yep.
In like
just
brown paper. Up. Yeah.
Yep.
They didn't give a fuck.
No,
all your comics are just folded in half. It's like, well,
but I didn't care. I was so excited every time that thing showed up in the mailbox.
Well, you're probably gonna fold it in half and put it in your back pocket anyway.
We moved when I was in middle school, just to a different part of Alabama, and that's when I got my first comic book friend. Like there was one other dude in my grade who also read comics. I was a DC guy, he was a Marvel guy, and he was the first one who told me, like, you should put these things in bags and boards, right? I was like, what is that?
Right.
What is that?
I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, I remember discovering that too.
I just had my like shitty box full of dog-eared issues of Atari Force and Blue Devil and Swamp Thing.
Jose Luis, man, Garcia, Atari Force.
No.
Great.
Did y'all get the the style guide that came out recently?
I haven't gotten it yet. I'm definitely getting that.
It's so pretty.
Did you get it, Jim?
Yeah, it's on my list though.
I gotta have that.
Sean, I did finally find Mignola's new book though, the Bowling with Corpses. It's fantastic. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. It is. I have it. It's so good. Thank you, Dave. West Coast Avengers came to OAX and delivered me a copy.
Oh, no kidding? Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dave. I think he's here with us, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's here.
I like your raise piece, Jim.
This is this is an ad. This is an ad for the product for you guys. Yeah, you can.
Well, Becca Carey did that ad in the book.
It's so awesome.
That was all her.
Where's that at? You guys could make T-shirts of that little logo of the little the little guy with he's got a he's got a little cast on his arm.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's so good.
So Mahmud, talk to us about what you got going on over there. You're working with some watercolors?
Yeah. So I'm drawing Slade here. For a while I couldn't do some watercolor stuff, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to break them out again. I'm doing some watercolors. I'm gonna ink it over this. Probably keep it light with the inks, but
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
How it goes.
What kind of paper are you using?
This is a Fabriano cold press.
Nice.
100% cotton. I've been trying cold press paper more lately. I used to do the hot press, but
me too.
Better with watercolors, so
it lets the washes bleed out much better, like the rougher surface.
Yeah, and it dries slower as well, so it works much better. It's easier to do washes, as you said, and it's harder on the like pens and stuff after if you want to ink though. So
that's true.
That's the trade-off, I guess. So and this is my tiny palette. I don't know. Yeah, I don't use too many colors. I just mix everything from these usually.
Oh yeah.
What kind of watercolors do you like to use there?
These are Schminke.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, I think they're my favorite as well. I've never tried anything better.
I haven't either. I've tried. I said I haven't found anything better either. I've found Holbein pigments to be stronger, but nothing works and acts like Schminke. Like the way they bleed out, like Holbein won't do that. And Schminke's got such beautiful pigments, and that just when they're wet, they're just beautiful.
I agree. Yeah, they're maybe a bit more I don't know, tame in terms of chroma and color and everything.
I agree.
I feel they're very quality and very consistent. I like that about them.
Yeah, I agree.
I've been trying some Daniel Smith colors lately, and I really enjoy how experimental some of them can get. Like with some mixture of different colors, you get granulation and stuff like that. So that's also fun.
Nice.
Very good for saturation stuff. So yeah.
Mahmud, would you say are you self-taught artist, or did you go to school?
Oh,
did we lose him?
Maybe I think he's frozen.
He just hated my question. He's like, "Fuck."
It's like, "Fuck this."
He's like, that Mahmud motherfucker. How dare he ask me about my education?
I tried to. Yeah, it was too intimate of a question.
What did I miss?
All good. All good. I was asking.
Question.
Yeah, I was asking, man, if you were self-taught artist or if you went to school.
I did go to school. I studied 2 years of graphic design. I didn't like that too much. It wasn't too much as what I wanted to do, so I moved on to studying animation in university. So I graduated from there because I thought it was the closest thing that I could get to comics, so that's what I wanted to do. So ended up never doing animation, but it did help with some some stuff. But I came to the realization at school that we're all kind of self-taught in a way. School helps us in certain ways, but if you really want to excel in something and learn, you have to do it kind of on your own.
Yes.
And use the school to help you out with that. Maybe I don't know if that makes sense. But,
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I get it.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I went to art school, but I wound up connecting with a couple of, comic book weirdos that were in the school, and we were doing our assignments, obviously, but we were on the side. We were all just doing our own comics thing as well. So,
all right, same. Yeah.
you know, strength in numbers and us just being hungry enough to just want to do our thing, you know, because the school at the time was not acknowledging or accepting of comics. It was, you know, it was just a different time, and people were like, that's not illustration, that's not real.
Right.
So
Right.
That reminds me of something, you know, like you know, I told you that I studied graphic design. A couple years in my professional career, you know, I was invited to that school to do a workshop with some of the kids, and you know, like I went there, and you know, like I was talking to the head teacher in the university, you know, like, and I said hello, and you know, like I was telling him, you know, okay, yeah, so I studied animation, but I'm doing comics, and she was like, "Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it."
Oh my god!
Like, what the fuck? You guys just invited me for a workshop to teach comics, and you're saying this kind of stuff. So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I thought it was pretty hilarious, you know. But it did feel. Yeah.
No respect, man. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Like, no respect.
Wait, Jim, are you about to go into a whole Rodney Dangerfield routine?
I was, but I digress. It's too early. It's yeah, it's all good.
You get to on Mahmud's piece, you get to see a lot of the green blood. Like we went back and forth on what color to make the blood. Like that was, I think we about drove Matt crazy. Switch it back and forth.
What were some of the other colors you were looking at?
Well, I mean, did we start with green or did we start with yellow? Like, where did we start?
I think we started with red. You know, like I was saying, you know, I mean, there was discussion at first, you know, before he started, I feel, and I was saying like I think it would look cool if it was red, but I think when Matt first colored it, it was a bit magenta-ish, a bit purplish. And you know, I said, you know, I want this to look more red, you know, like more visceral and you know, like more, you know, like saturated and stuff. So I think he made an edit like that. And then you know, like we were talking again with Jason, and he said, you know, like since these are bug people, it might be different. You know, like it would be cool to have a different color for their blood.
Yeah,
and stuff. We try out green and stuff. And yeah, it makes sense. So we went back, and you know, like Matt was again, you know, had to change it all over again and stuff. So.
And there's a lot of blood. There's a lot of blood.
Yeah, there is. Well, for me, like seeing the green blood just let me know immediately, like, oh, we're dealing with something different here. So when they get like punched through and green blood splatters out, I was like, oh, this is totally awesome and different.
Well, you know, you just wrestle with the question of does it mean anything when it's green, right? Like, is it just make believe violence and blood at that point, and at some point is that too much? Does it just become white noise, you know? So you've does it need to be red to have like real power to it and weight to it? But I mean, especially since in the opening there's a lot of it, it kind of gets to the point where it's noise anyways, and I think it actually works better being green and you know, right, you know, I think you still, I mean, Mahmud's art is so powerful. And that I think you still get the impact of the violence, and just
I agree.
It tells you this is like this other world. And then when the kid bleeds, you know, like you get the red blood, I think it makes his kind of pop and stand out more.
Yeah, totally.
And I thought it was totally the correct idea, I feel. And you know, like there are also other species-ish creatures in the book, so and some of them have different colors. So we will see people with blue blood. So yeah, it was a nice way of having some variation.
What's one of those things that's cool about doing a creator-owned book, right? Like this is our world, so we get to decide what color is blood. And also that becomes a challenge because you have to decide, well, what color is blood? What, like, is it this color, that color? Or is it the same for all these people? So it's one of those good and bad things about making up your own world is you have to answer all those questions.
Yeah, and it's like, how far do you want to overthink everything, or is it not overthinking? You know, is it just solid world building so that you have reference points for being able to answer any questions that might come up between you guys, like, well, why does this exist in our world, or what is this, or
Right.
That's awesome, man.
Sometimes you don't know, and you have to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just wanted to say we got Eric Talbot in the chat. What's up, Eric?
Oh,
and we
what's
got
up, Eric?
Chris Pierce from Comic Tropes, Trash Movie Bonanza. What up, homie? Happy Sunday to everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Now, Jason, let me pitch you something.
Okay.
Probably gonna, because I'm doing this drawing. It's probably gonna annoy you. You're gonna be like, no, we're not doing that. Bug Wars one shot with Sid. It's just called Slaymaker. Sid takes some bad acid, goes to a metal concert, and he sees the whole crowd as bugs. So he starts beating the shit out of everybody in the mosh pit. And then the acid kind of starts to wear off. And then it turns out the band that's performing is actually demonic. They are possessed by Satan. And so him and the remaining kids on the dance floor have to fight the demonic band that and I'm not sure how bugs come into play in this, but but the whole story is told from the point of view of Sid on bad acid.
Sure.
So there you go.
You didn't just come up with this on the fly. Have you been sitting on this for a bit? You've been like waiting.
I thought about it this morning, honestly, like an hour before, because I knew I wanted to do like a Sid piece because he's my favorite character in the book so far. Because when I was a kid, I had friends that had older brothers that were like Sid. Do you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
I was scared of them, and they would bully us, but they also had really good taste in music, and
right.
They knew things that we didn't know, but it
Sure.
was like that scary older suburban brothers.
Sure.
And so that kind of character fascinates me and resonates with me.
Well, I like your satanic bug infested metal concert idea. I mean, I'll tell you, wait and read the rest of this book one. I mean, Sid's got more story to be told.
Yeah.
Over the course of this, I mean, kind of when you get to issue 2, you sort of realize, oh, this is what the story is.
Right.
And then this first volume is issue 6, and issue 6 that Mahmud's drawing right now has a lot of Sid stuff. Goes some dark places, I'll say. After that, again, this is book 1. This is a 6-issue story with kind of, I think, a beginning, middle, and end to it. But this is still just the beginning of us exploring that world. So we absolutely do want to do some Bug Wars one shots. I think that'll come out kind of between the main arcs. So I think you'll definitely see us doing that.
Awesome.
That's like awesome. Where Sid's story goes from there. Like, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But
so is this an ongoing, or do you have like an end to it?
It's an ongoing in the way that like Hellboy was an ongoing, right? So I still think of it as like a series of kind of minis and one shots is what I would like to do. There's sort of a main narrative. There'll be like a part that's about the Slaymaker family and their kind of past connection with the yard, and then what the kids are involved in the present day, and there'll be other characters that become a part of that too. And there is an overall story there. There's kind of a main bad guy that you haven't even met yet. We get a tease of him as the story goes on.
Cool.
So there's that overarching story, but then beyond that, there's this entire world that we want to spend time exploring. So there's also stories that are just set within the yard itself and involve characters we meet there. Like, Wista is one of the spider witches from Weird Web, who's sort of an outcast to her people. And Krim is sort of like our Conan, who's the swarm lord of one of the Swarm Lords of the Beetle Riders. He's sort of like the mayor of Swarm City. And the one of the main Antorians, who's like the soldier of the Ant Imperium, is General August Fall, and she's got a story that develops over this first arc. So some of it's exploring those characters, exploring life in the yard, without the Slaymaker family. So I want to do all that stuff.
These are all great names, by the way.
Yeah,
that you've come up with, dude. These are, all these are they all based on doctors that you guys had as children? All those different doctors.
A very strange group of crackpot doctors I hired to look after my children.
Yeah.
No, I mean the names are such an important part of the world building, right? Like,
oh yeah,
of individualizing these different tribes and different sects of mites. So. I mean, Mahmud can tell you I've changed the names for these characters and locations like 1 million times, which is the benefit of us, again, having done this first issue so long ago, right? Like we've been working on this for a long time. I went back and tinkered with that first few scripts, time and time again, of just falling down the rabbit holes of rethinking what these characters should be called, and just the language of it took a long time to kind of get to a place where I felt happy and comfortable with it. But which is good. The plus side of having a lot of time, and also it's just none of that to me was annoying. Maybe it was annoying to Mahmud and Heather that I kept messaging them again, like I changed this guy's name again.
All right.
Like
it was great.
I enjoy that part of it, that world building of just digging in deeper and deeper and deeper and trying to figure out, like, who are these people? What should they really be called? Like, what is the language? What is how is this the culture of the spider people different from the maggot monks and the wasp raiders and all these different tribes that we'll meet? And that to me is like the fun, like those are all fun rabbit holes to fall down,
Right. That's a question, man. Because I'm like writing my next thing right now, and writing wise, like, how do you know when you're done and when you're ready to like walk away from something? When you don't need another draft of something, like, do you have a process of you finish something and then you actually show it to an editor, or you show it to the artist to get their opinion on it? And do you know what I mean? Like, how do you know when something is done?
Well, I mean, I feel like usually in our business, that question is answered for you, right? Like, you don't have the luxury of just sitting around and waiting to publish something when you feel like it's done, right? Usually, given the nature of our business, you have deadlines, so it's done,
right?
It's got to be done. Does it feel like it's totally done to you or not? Like, that's a totally different question. Maybe it does in the moment, and then you come back a year later and you're like, oh, that one wasn't done cooking yet. It could have cooked a little bit longer. So I mean, it depends. Like, I've never been in that situation. I mean, this is with Bug Wars, it's one of the few examples where we've had a lot of time to sort of work on this. And so I could go back and keep tinkering and changing. I mean, if this issue was published the month after Mahmud finished drawing it, like the lot of the language of it would be very different, because I've changed it so much since then. So I like that luxury of having more time to go back and write and rewrite and rewrite.
Right.
But I feel like generally we just don't have that, or I haven't had that over the course of my career. So it turns into like you step up to bat and you got to do the best job you can swinging at those pitches.
Yeah.
And then get out of the way and then start over. So it's always like, you can't, some of them come together better than others, I guess. And you don't always know why that is. Maybe it's, you were just able to get that idea on paper in the best way possible that week. Maybe you're having a great week. Maybe you're having a shitty week, and that helped. So I don't know. I think there's a lot that goes into it of getting the best version of that story on paper.
Right.
So is that a totally unhelpful answer? Did that help in any way?
No, you answered my question, because the exception to what I was trying to ask was, when you have the luxury of not really having a specific deadline. So, for example, if I'm doing one issue of my superhero parody comics a year, and I do have a Kickstarter for each one of them, and there is kind of a deadline involved, but it's up to me to go at my own pace with something that gives me the luxury, but also the disadvantage of, am I overthinking everything? Am I over scripting things? Or when do I just finally pull the trigger and say, this is the story. I'm going to start drawing this thing. Like, I know the structure of it. And, because every time I do this, each book is different. Like, each process is different. And there's times even where I sit down and I'm like, this is the time of the day where I'm going to write. I'm going to write things. And then I can't write, actually. I just get distracted. And I usually do my writing when I'll just be walking around, and like an entire conversation will come in my brain when I'm at like Target or something. And then I have to just get on my phone and recite the entire thing into my phone and just save it for later. But at least I have it, because I've learned that if you have an idea, or if something comes in your mind story-wise, or even a one line of dialogue, you have to record it then and there, because you will never remember it later, right?
You'll remember it like 75%, but you'll never quite get exactly.
Yeah, it won't be the same. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I totally get what you're saying. I think there's a difference between having the time to think something through fully and overthinking it. I think that when you reach a point when you have clarity, right? To me, it's the quality of a product, the quality of something I'm writing depends on how much clarity of vision do I have about this, right? Do I know who these characters are, what they want, what they don't want, like what this looks like, what it smells like, what color the blood is, what the soundtrack is. Like, the more clarity of vision I have, the better it's going to be, right? I think you know when you reach that point, and when you're just looking at something for so long that you don't even know if it's any good anymore, right? And you just start to second guess yourself. And I think you can look at something and just start making lateral decisions, right? Like, we're changing this. Does this improve the story in any way, or is it just a lateral move, right? You can make lateral moves forever and never finish the thing, but I think like you have to have that kind of clarity. Like, how do I see this fully and completely and know, like, yes, this is it? Does that mean, you won't come back in 5 years and look at one line of dialogue and be like, well, that one sucked. Why did I do that? You never know. Like, I think that always happens. But I think you feel when you reach a point where it's like, yes, I see this. I understand what it is. This is, in this moment in time, this is the best version of this I could possibly do. Like, it's time to put it into the world.
Right. And it's also like, I mean, I'm lucky. Like, I have, all these creative friends. So there's times where I'll just pitch something. Like, I'll pitch something to, Scotty when we're hanging out, like, as far as the story goes, and having an outside fresh perspective of him saying like, well, okay, that's cool, but have you thought about this? Have you considered this? Like, with what you're telling me, what if the story did this or went in this direction, or, like, why is this character doing this? And so, I mean, there is an advantage too of having people to springboard things off of. And I guess for me too, like, that idea of when you explain to someone your idea, your concept, if you don't have the one sentence sort of elevator pitch to get them excited, where you say, the book is this, it's this, and this, and they say, oh, that's fucking awesome. If you don't get that initial kind of excitement, I feel like maybe your idea is not quite where it needs to be. If that makes sense,
Sure. Yeah. You have to have that yourself, right? I think you have to have that clarity of like, I understand fully what this thing is, and I can communicate that to you. If you don't have that, that's the worrisome part, is that you don't have it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it is good to be able to have. I mean, all of us are different, right? We all do the same thing, but we all do it differently. We all see stories differently. We all react to different parts of stories. So I think when you talk about something, an idea you have with other creative people, they're going to seize on things that maybe you never would have thought of, or like you said, suggest taking it in a different direction. And maybe sometimes you're like, that's great, I don't want to do that. I mean, that's not the version of it that's speaking to me, but it does help you kind of step back and see your own work from a different perspective, which is always good.
Right. Because you're the first writer we've had on the show, and I know there's a lot of kids.
I'm the first writer?
Yes. You're the first writer, Jay.
Wow.
and I know there's a lot of kids watching this that want to write and draw their own comics, a lot of like indie creator-owned people in our community. And I think that's probably, a big thought and a big issue of like, well, how do you get going? How do you know if you're on, the right track, or is there a process to all of this, because I at this point, I just encourage everyone, especially young creators, like just write and draw your own shit. Like if your dream is to draw Batman for DC, that's fine. Like go for that. But at the same time, it's also, I think this is the time to just make what you want to make, and original ideas are sorely needed in the world. So,
well, I think people who get hired for jobs doing Batman and Spider-Man or whatever are people who have a voice and a style of their own, right? Like nobody breaks in just chasing that. Like you have to show that you have something to say, and that you're able to say it. And so I think you always have to do your own stuff and have your own ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, I think there's no magic secret to writing other than just writing a lot. And I think reading voraciously, like devouring story.
Yes.
And then you just it's just that muscle you keep working out, and it gets better and stronger the more you do it. And you don't have to wait for anybody to tell you, that you're a writer. Like you just do it and make up your own stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you guys, do you guys read, are you reading comics currently? Do you stay in the loop of like what's going on?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I have a big pull list, from Elite Comics here in Kansas City.
Shout out to William.
I mean, I'm behind. I mean, there's stacks of comics sitting here on my desk that are unread. So I mean, there are times like I still love comics. I think the day you stop being excited and passionate about what we do, we should all go find something else to do. So I've never lost that, but there are days when you've spent the whole day staring at comics that I don't really want to sit down and read another comic.
Sure.
So I kind of read in spurts. So on those days when I'm sort of don't want to look at comics or don't want to think about story, usually I like sit and watch wrestling for a few hours.
Oh shit! There you go.
Mahmud's also a wrestling guy.
Yeah, we connect with that aspect of things as well, I guess. I like that. Though I've been watching less lately, I don't have the time, or I can't focus. It's like so. But I do try to keep up with what's going on in wrestling.
It's too much. There's too much to keep up with. There's so much wrestling.
I'm mostly watching the pay-per-view stuff lately. So.
Did you guys watch that documentary on Vince McMahon?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's so good. It's incredible.
It's really well made. Yeah, I thought it was really well made.
It's so ridiculous, man, because I watched wrestling in the 80s as a kid, but I missed like the Attitude Era while it was happening. Yeah, so just to see footage of all that crazy shit, it's unbelievable what they were doing. It's really crazy. It's a live action comic book,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like a kind of like a soap opera in a way.
Yes. Yeah. Really wild shit.
I like your bug guy, Sean. It's giving me like some kind of Micronaut Sectars vibes.
Oh, dude, hell yeah.
That looks great, man.
Oh, thanks.
That's awesome.
It's funny that I remembered Sectars after we were started doing Bug Wars, because I never actually read any comics or anything, but I do remember somehow that I got one of the toys for that, when I was a kid, and I thought it was really weird and freaky, and but that was my only connection to Sectars. I never even knew there was a cartoon or whatever or anything else related to it, comics or whatever. So
Oh man, those Micronaut toys they were incredible.
Yeah, I love the Micronauts comic. I never had toys. I've got Sectar's toys in my toy cabinet, like sitting over here right next to my desk.
the originals.
Nice.
Yeah, like one of the big, I forgot what it's called, but the big bug, the big winged dragonfly thing that's like a puppet. You put your hand in it.
Oh, that's amazing.
They're pretty cool designs, like the character designs, and I like their weapons. All their weapons look very sort of weird and weirdly shaped and organic.
Yeah, the Micronauts are just, as a kid, they were so psychedelic as a toy, because they were like this transparent plastic and they had these little hands with little fingers on them.
Huh.
I love that stuff, man.
Yeah, super weird. And shout out to Michael Golden, obviously, on the comic stuff. And then didn't Kelly Jones work on the comic after Michael Golden? Am I right?
Oh, I don't know. Did he?
Did he?
On that? Early Kelly Jones? Someone in the chat will know.
Micronauts ran for a while, right? Weren't they like 2 volumes back in the day?
I believe so.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I loved totally different kind of books. Oh, Kelly Jones did, and Steve Ditko. Oh wow.
Okay.
Oh wow, Ditko.
Thanks, Dave.
I gotta see that.
I loved the Michael Golden stuff on the Nom.
Oh yeah, man. Oh my God, yeah.
I can pull those out. They're always within arm's reach.
Yeah.
I think
those are some of my favorite
about
comics.
to put out an omnibus, right? That's also going to have those. Before they did the Nom, they did those stories in like Savage Tales magazine.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's also Golden.
That's right. It was like the oversized black and white magazine format.
Yep.
Jason, do you have Michael Golden's Marvel Artist Edition?
No. Oh no, I don't.
Oh my God.
It's stunning. It's stunning, man. It's unbelievable. Like if you can,
it's one of the best artist editions.
Yeah, if you can grab a copy, I highly recommend it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I will do that.
And it's a great retrospective throughout the years of his different stuff at Marvel. So you see like this just crazy evolution of his work into him becoming like one of the best drawers ever in comics. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I love those artist editions. Mine are like right here by my desk, so I can like plop them open on the desk and just have them sitting here.
I love them too. The one that got away, I discovered at Jim's place, was that Mike Zeck one. That's one of my favorite ones I've ever seen, and I can't find it like affordable anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shit, man. You know what's funny, Sean? I was trying to find. I rewatched the Cartoonist Kayfabe episode where they review Sam Keith's Max Artist Edition.
Oh,
and it's so unbelievable. And I went online to find it, and it's out of print. And there's people selling it for like $4,000.
Yeah, that's what happens, man. That sucks.
It's like, well, I'm not gonna ever.
Was that IDW publishing it?
I think so.
Wow.
But yeah, that's out of my price range.
Yeah, obviously.
But the book it's ridiculous, seeing his originals on that scale.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Going back to Michael Golden, I never actually read it or actually have any issues or whatever, but he once did this book called Spartan X. Have you guys heard of it?
Yeah, I have it. The black and white one.
Yeah, the Jackie Chan book.
Thing. Yeah.
I saw some pages from there, and it's the most insane thing that he's done, it seems like.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Good,
It's so good. It's insane. Yeah.
The amount of work you put onto those pages, and
it's incredible.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I love weird, forgotten books like that. Right, like
Right.
so many of my long boxes are full of those miniseries or canceled series that I've sort of lost the time, that are not collected anywhere, that you can't get it anywhere except some back issue boxes somewhere.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I
love
love
it.
that stuff.
Jason
Like
and Mahmud, did you guys ever get into Tim Vigil's work, Faust, and all that kind of crazy shit?
I'm aware of his stuff, but I never actually had access to it. So, I never actually personally read it. I
Okay,
do
because man,
know of his Faust stuff, though.
you being a metal fan, it's pure metal comics, man. It's so over the
It
top and
appears so, yeah.
ridiculous. It's really amazing stuff.
Is
Not
it
for
really-
everybody though.
Right.
You know.
really
Is it
well
easy to
drawn.
find?
I mean, it's you say, is it fun? I mean, it's fun in like a really dark, hyper violent
Right.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I mean,
I had a Faust phase years ago.
Okay.
Like I bought a bunch of them at Dragon Con when I was a kid.
yeah. When you read them now, there's almost like a B movie kind of schlockiness to it because it's so ridiculous and over the top and goes for such obvious, kind of shock value. But
Yeah.
you can't deny just the pure drawing skills and how
Oh,
much
it's
effort
it's
he was
incredible
putting into the
drawn.
pages. It's insane, man. It's
And I had never seen anything like it when I first found that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who else was doing a book like that. I think nobody.
Right.
So it just seemed like it came from another planet.
I actually
Yeah.
became aware of that Faust book from the pages of this comics magazine, Comic Scene, from the
Oh,
early
sure.
90s.
sure.
I
Yeah,
love that
yeah.
magazine, by the way. And like the stuff I saw over there, it kind of scared me.
Yeah.
So, all right, this might be a bit too much for me, But now I would like to see it actually.
Why I had a bunch of issues of Faust, and at some point, I gave them all to Kevin Mellon. He was at my house for I think a party one time, and I was like, "Well, you can have them," and he took. So Kevin has all my Faust issues now.
The gift of Faust.
Right.
There's someone commenting in the chat. They made a B movie film adaptation of Faust. Potential
No.
trash movie bonanza episode. Dude, we already did that.
Oh.
We did an episode of trash movie bonanza on the Faust movie. So go check that out. It's on
Oh, cool.
and the movie's ridiculous. The movie is its own magical thing.
Jim, I saw a movie the other day. Well, I listened to it while I was working, and I was like, this would be good for your show. I don't know if it can be considered schlock, but it kind of is story wise. Was Army of the Dead?
What is it? What is that? Is
That was like Romero. Maybe it wasn't Romero. I'm trying to remember. It was a Netflix thing. It's got Dave Bautista in it, but it's
Zack Snyder.
Oh, that's a Zack Snyder film.
Oh, so bad.
Oh,
Like- So Vegas is like there's a zombie outbreak in Vegas, and they keep it contained, and so they build this giant wall around Vegas, and it's the only place where the zombies are, and they're gonna nuke it. But before they nuke it, like this guy wants people to go in and rob a casino of what's left in the vault. And then so inside the wall, this is where it just gets so ridiculous. Because up until that point, they had me. Inside the
Right.
walls, there's two types of zombies. Your normal zombie, and then there's a tribe of zombies with a king and a queen.
Oh, the
And
Queen.
they're Oh my god, it was so fucking stupid. They're like cognizant zombies. They can't speak, but there's dude, it is so bad. It is so bad.
This was a new. I don't even know.
Yeah,
if I've
and so
heard
like
of it.
the
This is a
the
newer
king,
movie.
Yeah,
I
just
think
a
it's
few years old. Yeah.
Yeah. The
It
king
was like right
zombie.
after.
The
after
king
Justice.
zombie
There was
looks
this
like.
moment.
Go ahead, Mahmoud. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
There was this moment in the movie where the zombie queen, it's kind of like a long shot. I think she was supposed to be like a Vegas dancer or something, so she's kind of
Yeah.
dressed like that. There's this moment that she's running away or running towards something, and they show it in a long shot. And the actress, she's like running in a sort of dancery aesthetic way.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks so ridiculous. The worst
Oh my God.
thing that I've seen about a zombie movie ever, I feel.
Yeah,
This-
the king looks like Conan if he was a zombie.
Okay, this might be amazing for a schlock movie.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was watching it, and I couldn't stop. Like I had to see where this went because it was so ridiculous.
And it's Homeboy from Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a zombie tiger that's roaming around Vegas. Dude,
Okay, well, you had me at zombie tiger. Oh, Jesus.
but the zombie tiger is like cool with the zombie tribe for some reason.
Oh my God. Okay, let me consult with Chris, and maybe this is a future episode. I haven't even heard of the movie. That's how much product it comes out these days.
There's actually even like a prequel movie to it, and that's what
there is.
Yeah. You remember the German guy in the team that was like the safecracker?
Yeah.
There's actually like a movie about him, a German-made movie on Netflix. You can, I think you can find it. I don't remember the name at all, but yeah, that movie was a bit better.
Was that a zombie film?
Yeah, I think it was before the outbreak or something. I don't remember too well. But yeah, I have this faint notion that it was a bit better than this one.
Oh my God.
Damn, man.
It was so bad.
Mahmud, do you watch movies when you're working, or are you like a music guy, or anything specific?
I do both. I do watch actually a lot of movies. I say watch, in parentheses, because I usually have something in the background, but I kind of mostly listen to it.
Yes.
And occasionally look at what goes on and stuff. But it's not usually the actually good stuff that I want to watch when I'm working. It's just serves as background noise, mostly.
Oh yeah.
Army of the Dead was perfect for that.
I get it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm always jealous of artists because I feel like every artist I know has seen every movie, listened to every podcast.
Well, yeah, that's one of the perks.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jay, do you just work in silence when you're writing?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
preferably silence. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't have the TV on or anything.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's looking great, Jim.
This is just I don't know. I don't even know what's going on with this piece. This is just a Sunday freestyle.
Dude,
looks amazing.
That's
you do the family. I got the family in there.
Sid. I love your Sid. That's so good.
I feel like this is something that Sid himself would have drawn and like hung on the wall in his room.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No bugs allowed.
What's the mom's name?
Janice.
Janice. Okay. Janice Slaymaker.
Janice the Menace.
There we go.
We'll see more of Janice as the series goes on too.
Yeah, I mean all the main characters are great. It's
totally.
It's funny. I just realized the dynamic almost is a Lost Boys dynamic where you have the single mom and the two brothers, and the older brother is kind of the dickhead, aloof one, and the younger brother, the Corey Haim, is the kind of believer, true, kind of pure-hearted.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, I do. I love Lost Boys.
And I could see Jason Patrick playing Sid.
I do love Jason Patrick.
Oh shit!
Yeah, we just need our bug version of the Frog Brothers to show up, right?
Maybe they're actual frogs.
Oh
I'm gonna have to rewrite some of this now.
This writes itself. Them being frogs and.
I Lost Boys was one of my favorite movies when that came out. What was that?
Me too.
Was
Me
that
too.
86 or 87? When was that? Late 80s?
That sounds right.
Yeah, it was around
87.
that time, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it so much, and then I watched it like years later with my kid, and enjoyed it in completely different ways. Like it's so funny,
Yeah.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
think I appreciated just how ridiculous and funny it was, and so I somehow loved it even more.
Yeah,
Just
it's
the
a great
fact that
fucking-
just the fact that some of it took place in a comic shop, like that blew my mind as a kid, because we were always starving for any sort of comic book content.
Right.
That the fact that some of it, I was like, oh my God, they're in a comic shop. And Corey Haim is talking about, he says something inaccurate too. He's like, oh, you've got this issue of Superman in the wrong section or whatever.
Right. He's speaking nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like you can't put this issue with this other issue because some sort of kryptonite hadn't been discovered yet. It's like they got numbers on the cover. You just put them by that.
Yeah. Jason, did you do your research on that for Absolute Superman? You referenced Corey Haim in Lost Boys.
Yes, I want to write, a long injustice of Corey Haim talking nonsense about kryptonite.
What's that like, taking on, a huge iconic character as big as Superman? Is that just a whole other mind state you have to go in of what do you contribute that hasn't been done over the last 90 years of the character?
Sure. I mean, no, to me it's no different from everything else I've done. I mean, this one's cooler and kind of, I guess, easier than if I was taking over sort of main universe Superman. And this is, again, it's there's sort of the freedom of a creator-owned book, and that with the Absolute stuff, we're very much getting to make up the rules of this entire universe as we go, like the history of it, so everything. So it's to me, it's like the coolest part of the job, where I get to stand on the shoulders of everybody who's come before and pick and choose all the really cool stuff, and then just do my own version of it, right? And tell a story that we all know and we've all heard a million times before, but how do you do that in a way and still find places to surprise people? So that to me is super exciting. That's the kind of gig, especially with a character like Superman, that doesn't come along, all the time, right? So, I'm happy to be able to be a part of that, and I've wanted to write Superman for, I think, as long as I've been in comics. My love of Superman goes back to this same house from Bug Wars. The same kid, 10 years old, discovering comics. Some of those first comics I read were Superman comics. DC Comics presents.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've still, over here next to my Sectars, I've got my hunk of kryptonite that I clipped out, a coupon from the back of an issue of DC Comics Presents,
awesome.
with $5, and got this rock that's spray painted green.
What?
It's probably lead paint. I'm probably going to die someday because of this kryptonite. But
that's a product that they offered in the book.
Yeah, it's a real rock sprayed with, like the paint, where if you hold it up to the light bulb for a minute, it'll glow in the dark.
Oh,
holy
nice.
shit, man!
Wow.
Yeah, and I've still got the issue. I think it was the DC Comics Presents, where it was Superman teaming up with Sergeant Rock. But I clipped the thing out and sent it in.
Nice. Wow. That's obviously a spinner rack find, that if you're the Superman book you're referring to.
Yeah. Well, I got a spinner rack over here too in the corner.
Ah, nice.
Oh, wow.
Comic Center.
Yep.
Jim,
Dude,
you don't have a spinner rack, right?
I don't.
I'm surprised.
I sometimes go online to look, and they're usually expensive. And then our buddy Jim DeMonicos, who used to own Emerald City Comic Con, he did a Kickstarter where he re-released.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I missed out on it.
Well, I got one of those upstairs. Those are really nice. But
Shit.
it may be done now, but there was just another Kickstarter within the last month because I just bought another one. These were different people, and these are also like ones that are meant to sort of be like you can sort of pack it up and carry it with you. Like if you want to take one to a convention with you, like these are you're able to travel with it.
Really?
So look, I mean, I think it may have closed, but yeah, I'm the Jim DeMonakis one was super nice, and I jumped all over that because yeah, to buy a vintage one. I mean, this one I've got here is vintage, but it's kind of like beat up and shitty. So to even to find a shitty one is really expensive, and let alone if you're paying to ship it to you, like that's ridiculously expensive. So
Yeah.
so I even like I told my partner and I just moved. My partner Jen and I bought a house together last year and moved in together for the first time. So now, you know, all my shit's now her shit too. So I started to tell her like I'm thinking about buying a third spinner rack, and I'm like, she doesn't need to know about that. She'll know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about owning 3 spinner racks?
Oh shit. Yeah. Shout out to Jen.
Yes.
But yeah, man, you're right. Cause like even the crappy used ones I've been able to find, they're like $300 or more. I think it's something that people just know what they have and they're not going to let it go
right.
for any sort of discounted price, you know?
Right. Well, if Jen tells me I can't have a third spinner rack, Jim, I'll let you have this one.
That'd be awesome. I'll trade you for. I sent away for some a fake red kryptonite rock.
Oh, sweet!
You can have my red kryptonite that I got duped into buying when I was a kid.
Was this a prop from Lost Boys? Was it in the Frog Brothers comic book store?
Oh man, I wish. Yeah. You know, it's funny because they actually some publisher released a version of the vampire comic book that they show in Lost Boys. Someone probably knows in the chat, like what's the name of it? It's like Vault of the Vampire or something, or I don't know, but someone was smart enough to capitalize on turning that into an actual comic book.
That's crazy.
Well, for the record, when I showed Lost Boys to my son, you know, I forgot exactly how long ago this was. He's 19 now, but so he was probably 16. So, I mean, you know, around the age I was when I first saw it, like he loved it.
Oh, cool. Good.
So it did stand the test of time.
I tried that with my kids. They did not like it.
Really?
They were like, Dad, this movie's stupid.
It is, but it's one of those, you gotta embrace the stupidity of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's also
go ahead.
Oh, this sexy sax man. Is that what you're gonna?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I thought that would get them. Like, they'd see like, oh, okay, this is ridiculous. But no.
Yeah. It's also so like one of the most 80s things ever made. When you watch it now, I mean, just the hairstyles alone, and I don't know, man. It's an MTV version of vampire mythology. Yeah. You know, filtered through that Joel Schumacher lens, which is awesome. You know,
I think I have trained my kid to accept things that are very, very 80s. Like one of our favorite movies is Michael Mann's Manhunter.
Oh,
yeah.
First, that's a good
Hannibal Lecter movie from before Silence of the Lambs, which I've loved since it came out. Like that's one of
me too.
Serial killer movie, but it's very, very 80s. You know, it's Miami Vice, Michael Mann. But it's so great. It's such a great movie.
That's a slept on movie because people don't realize it's part of that Hannibal Lecter mythology.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people just, you know, Brian Cox's Lecter is very different from from Anthony Hopkins. Like, I think people are just used. So many people saw Manhunter after they saw Silence of the Lambs, right? And they were kind of disappointed because it's not the same thing. But I mean, I love Silence of the Lambs too. But to me, there's no comparison of Manhunters. I mean, Tom Noonan is absolutely the best on-screen serial killer I think ever. Like that dude is creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
And I love William Peterson.
Yeah, me too.
As Bill Graham.
I need to rewatch that. That's a classic.
That's a great one.
Yeah, William Peterson and Jason Patrick were like two of my favorite actors back in those days. I thought, man, these guys are both awesome. They're both going to be so huge. And then both of them, their careers kind of petered out over time. I mean, William Peterson had that big, I guess his biggest thing was whatever the TV show he was on years ago that I never watched, but
I don't even know what that is.
Oh shit! Yeah, I don't either.
One of the procedural cop shows. I think he was the lead on, but
yeah, I don't watch any of the. I've never seen like CSI or what.
Yeah,
and what are the hot shows? I don't even know what to reference. The NYPD Blue or whatever. I remember Hill Street Blues as a kid.
I remember that too.
Blues. That was a classic. I was also a big fan of Hunter. I don't know if you guys remember Hunter.
I do. Yeah, that guy was interesting. Yeah.
Fred Dwyer, is that his name? The actor? This is all like shit from 50 years ago.
Yeah, I've never seen that guy anywhere else though. Like only in Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the leaf on the spear, Sean.
Oh,
nice. Jamie, we got any we got any chat stuff that we need to be aware about? I don't know if Jamie's around or if he's muted.
Did we lose? Did Jamie abandon ship? Our captain is gone.
There he is.
I'm still here, guys, but I need to be off screen to make this layout work. Oh, it's working now. Okay. It wasn't working before. I can be here now. Okay. We had a good question from Nathan Campos for Jason.
Do I get ideas in random situations, or do you have to sit down and process your thoughts? That's a good question. I mean, I think it's some of both, right? Like, I think I don't know whether it's a good thing or a negative thing, but I'm sure artists are the same way. But as writers, I think there's a part of your brain that never turns off. Like that part of your brain never stops working. So even in situations that are traumatic or emotional or intense or whatever, there's always a part of your brain that's like, well, this is good. I can use this someday, right? For something. So I think part of being a writer is you just never clock out, like that's stuff's always simmering on the stove in the back of your mind. So I think in some sense you're always thinking about stuff, and then sometimes you'll figure stuff out. Something will pop up and connect out of the blue in a random situation. But given the nature of the job, like if you want to do this as a job and you want to do, you want to do it in a way that you can pay your light bill, there's times you have to sit down and be like, okay, I have to make something up now, right now. Like I have to figure out, what is this arc? What is this issue? So yeah, it's and that's hard. Sometimes that's easy, and sometimes you're banging your head against the wall and like you got nothing. And then to me it's I need to get up and go for a walk or go fold laundry or go take a shower. Like
right.
I've written a lot of comics just taking a shower, just like trying to reset your brain in some sense. So yeah, I think it's all of the above, I guess.
Jason, when you do a big arc like the Punisher series you guys did, do you basically have the big beats of the whole series worked out and you kind of pitch that to Marvel? Like, here's what's going to happen over these 12 issues? Or like how was that figured out?
Yeah, that one I had a pretty detailed pitch, like every issue. add the
Okay.
major beats for it, which sometimes, I hate writing outlines in general, just because it feels like I don't like to sit down and half-ass do the thing before you do the thing. I'd rather just write it instead of like giving you the cliff notes. But I mean, it's
so you don't see the outline as like a good organizational tool for the ideas?
I do for me, but I guess it's different when I have to put it into a form for someone else to read, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know where I'm going and like what the major beats are, but it's hard for me to put that in a scaled down form without just going too far and falling down rabbit holes and getting like doing the thing, right? But I mean, yeah, I think going back to like that clarity of vision, the story's always better when I know all the major beats for each issue, right?
Right.
It's just putting it into a form for editors to read can be difficult. But so yeah, I mean, it does depend. Like then sometimes when you're writing an ongoing book, like I'll have a general idea for what the next arc is going to be, but I don't really know the specific beats of each issue until I get to it and start hammering it out. So it's kind of different gigs.
Right. That makes sense. It's Mahmud, is there a script style that you prefer working from? Like, have you done the Marvel method thing versus like full script?
Yeah, I've done that. I think I've probably worked on all kinds of scripts, from like the Marvel style to just like a bunch of paragraphs on a paper that I would turn into a comic, and up to like a fully detailed script, not like Alan Moore levels probably, but yeah, some detailed scripts. But yeah, my ideal way is the way that is the middle ground, like where, like what Jason does, like he breaks down this page on a few panels, and he writes the script, the dialogue and everything, but he lets everything else to me, like no camera angles, whatever, and things like that, or panel sizes. And so like I do my own thing in that way, and I think I enjoy that the most. Yeah, I guess that's how it is. What about you guys? Do you guys like working in detailed scripts or loose scripts or what?
I've done both. I prefer. One of my favorite experiences was working with Matt Wagner, because he just does the Marvel method. So I did like a short Grendel story with him years ago, and he just said, "What do you want to draw?" And I'll just give you page breakdowns of what happens on each page, and you just decide on how many panels and the structure of all this, and shoot me those layouts, and then I'll start thinking about script and dialogue after the fact. So we had this really nice kind of organic back and forth with it.
That's cool.
And since Matt is an artist as well, obviously I was younger in my career, and he would, he kind of was guiding me along, like, well, you've got these panels here, but think about maybe doing an insert panel of this here, or maybe pull your camera back more on this shot. And so it was very helpful to work with such an established, I mean, he's a master of comics, I consider. So
absolutely,
when you're working with Wagner, it's like, he's not going to steer you in the wrong direction.
For sure, yeah.
But
I did work with writers that were also artists before, and I found that a little bit constricting, because, as you said, they would, interject a little bit with what you would do, which is great if they're, experienced, and, like I'm always open to ideas and stuff like that, and, I always like to consider that. But I also felt a little bit of, maybe, I don't know, intimidation, because in a sense I would also like to impress them in a way.
Right.
So yeah, so it was a different thing. When you're working with somebody who's a writer solely, then like it's all left up to you, and I feel a bit less pressure in that regard. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh shit, Rossi Gifford in the chat. Shout out to our homegirl.
Hey, Rossi, what up, Rossi?
Incredible artist.
We're reassembling the New York dinner here.
Oh yeah, yeah, hell yeah. That's awesome.
We had a good question earlier on, if I can find it quickly, from West Coast Avengers saying, I know Mahmud talked about fanzines. Did Jason ever get involved in the fanzine scene?
No, I didn't. You mean like involved in terms of producing stuff in fanzines? Like, no. I mean, again, I discovered comics from like the drugstore spinner rack. Took me years before I ever went to a comic book store. The first convention I ever went to was, it was in Atlanta. I don't remember if it's Dragon Con or there was another show like kind of right before Dragon Con. I don't remember which one I went to first, but I was, probably 15, like the first time I went to a comic convention. George Perez was like the first creator I met.
Nice.
So I mean, I knew from when I was that 10-year-old kid, like I figured out pretty quickly, oh, I want to do this, right? I remember my dad asking me like, well, how do you do that? And I'm like, I have no idea. But, I feel like the first thing you need to not be is a kid living in the backwoods in Alabama, right? I felt like,
right.
Probably need to be somewhere else. Probably need to be in, I mean, those days, like you needed to be in New York City, right? Like
Right.
Jason, that's what I thought too. Like I told my parents from the time I was like 12 years old, like I'm going to have to move to New York if I want to go work at Marvel in DC. Like I thought you actually went into the office every day, like a 9-to-5 job. I didn't know the concept of freelance or that people could, ship in art through FedEx or whatever. So sure. I was planning on, when I'm like 20, I'm going to have to move to New York. So,
but I mean, you were also, we still weren't, the business wasn't that far removed from it being exactly that, right? Like you still had to,
right.
I don't think anybody was breaking in remotely, from Alabama without having your face in front of people where the publishers were.
Yeah.
So I had no idea how to go about breaking into comics, and took, until I was in my late 20s, like winning the Marvel Comics talent search contest before I got my foot in the door. So
that's right.
Kind of never stopped writing and never stopped reading comics and never stopped chasing that, but didn't know how to go about doing that. So like going down, just producing stuff and being a part of fanzines really never kind of crossed my radar in the way that it should have,
Yep. So how was the experience?
That we all had similar experiences, even though you guys were in the US and I was like living in Turkey back then. Because I had this imagination that if you were in the US, everything would be really easy. You would have like comic stores all over the place, and like conventions, and like you could go in and out of the Marvel offices whenever you wanted and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were just giving jobs to all of us here in the States. You want to write comics?
So it felt like so distant to me, but it's always interesting to me to hear from guys like you, about your experiences growing up and stuff like that, and how distant and difficult it was for you as well,
Oh yeah, man. Jay, real quick, how was that? I don't know anything about the actual process of the new talent search. Like, do you had to apply for that, or
how
does that work?
It was this contest they did kind of one summer, like summer of, was that 2000 or summer of 2001? I forget. Where it was at Wizard World Chicago and at San Diego Comic-Con. So you had to be there in person to submit. So they picked one writer and one artist from each convention. And that was the point in my life where I was already going to Wizard World Chicago, like, kind of every year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just typed up like a 1-page synopsis of a Wolverine story and dropped it in a box, like on a giant pile of them.
Really? That's okay.
And then I didn't hear anything for months and months, and I remember like asking one of my friends about it, like, whatever happened with that thing? And he's like, yeah, I think they announced the winners. And I was like, oh shit, well, okay, I guess I didn't win. But then one day I was working at Hastings video, like I was the video manager at Hastings in Olathe here in Kansas City, and there was just a message on my phone from Mike Martz, who was at the time the X-Men editor at Marvel, just for me to call him back. And literally, like, stupidly, my first thought was like, what an asshole. Like, he's calling just to tell me I didn't win. Like, why the hell would he do that? That's just cruel. But then I was like, oh, well, okay, shit, I guess I did win. So, and then it took me another 5 years before I had another credit to my name. So it wasn't exactly like,
oh wow,
shot me right to stardom, but at least got my foot in the door.
So what did you get out of that first deal? Like, what did he offer you?
Well, you knew, like, I was pitching for a 10-page Wolverine story. It's what everybody was pitching for who submitted at Wizard World Chicago. So I got a 10-page Wolverine story that was in like Wolverine number 175, I think is what it was. So it's like a backup story. So that's what I got out of it. And then spent 10 years or 5 years, the next 5 years, like pitching things. Pitched. It was sort of another Bill Jemas thing, like that talent search contest was a Bill Jemas idea. And then remember, he had the idea to relaunch Epic Comics.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they started taking pitches for those from anybody. So Tom Brevoort tells the story of, like, the halls of Marvel were filled with giant stacks of submissions that people were sending that they had to root through. And to submit, you had to write the first issue of the thing. So I wrote a Vietnam War script and submitted it as a relaunch of the Nam. And I think maybe 2 books out of that were ever published. Like, it fizzled out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was not a success.
But at some point I got a reply, and they told me that I was on the who, I can't remember who it was who wrote, but they said I was on the maybe pile for a while, but didn't make the cut. But that eventually I had that script that I'd worked my ass off on. And my cousin was a Vietnam vet. He wrote the book that Full Metal Jacket was based on. So I had this personal connection to it.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, the book's called The Short Timers.
Your cousin wrote the book that Full Metal Jacket is based on.
Yes.
Wow. What's his name?
That's cool.
Gus Hasford.
Okay. Holy shit, man.
So
I'm guessing this is where the story's going, Jay.
Yeah, that's that.
Ah.
I scrubbed out the Nam and submitted it to Vertigo, to Will Dennis at Vertigo, and that was my first full
This is
comic.
a great book. This is a great book.
Thanks.
I forgot about that book. Holy shit.
Dude, we had Cameron, after he did this, I had Cameron come to SCAD because the research he did for this to draw this was crazy. He went to Vietnam and he went into one of those tunnels that is like built for tiny people. They lower you in.
Box-sized opening.
Yeah, it's horrifying. There's no light, and they say just go straight, and when you hit the end, stand up, and you'll come out the top. But if you make a turn, you're fucked. They'll never find you.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I can't believe he did that. And he had pictures. So when he gave the talk at SCAD, he had pictures of the whole thing. It was horrifying.
Dude, that's some serious research.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
Yeah, I was impressed by that.
Jay, is your cousin still around?
No, he died back in the 90s. He was an entertaining dude. Like, I'd never met anybody like him in my life. I mean, he was the first person I ever met who was, made his living as a writer. incredibly smart guy. Guy read voraciously, but was a high school dropout. Enlisted in the Marines. Spent time in jail for stealing 748 library books from libraries across the country.
Wow.
And kind of drank himself to death and living in Greece at the time. So an interesting dude, lived a very eccentric life, but
right. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Another guy, grew up where I grew up, like he grew up in Russellville, Alabama, so kind of down the street from where I was born. So he was this legendary figure to me.
That's amazing, man. That's like, you can't make that story up. That's like such an odd sequence of life events. That's pretty amazing.
He and Kubrick would have these kind of marathon phone sessions, because Kubrick was in the UK, and as they were putting together the screenplay, and they only met in person one time. Like Kubrick or Gus went to dinner at Kubrick's house with Michael Herr, the other guy who worked on the screenplay. And suppose Herr tells the story of at some point during the dinner, Kubrick passed him a note that just said, "I can't deal with this man," like talking about my cousin.
Oh shit!
Gus was a big personality, like a big guy in general, like a huge human, but also a huge personality. And I think he and Kubrick didn't necessarily mesh in person.
Yeah. Well, Kubrick himself seemed like that. That's a very particular personality, So,
but Gus was nominated for an Oscar for the screenplay, and he was actually wanted by the police for stealing those library books at the same time.
No shit.
Oscars. They joked about, like, well, if he wins, we'll just arrest him when he comes off stage.
Yes.
But he was not there.
What? Hey man, if you're going to steal something, at least he was trying to get his learn on. He was trying to.
Well, that's the thing. They were all books that he used that in his mind he needed, and sort of the arrogance of it was he felt like, well, it's more important that I have this book than anyone else, so he just fucking kept them. But he was the guy who would get a royalty check, like foreign monies, sells of the book from Ireland or whatever, and he'd call his friends and say, "Hey, I just got this check, like, let's meet up, I'm buying dinner." And by the time they would eat dinner and the check would come, he'd be like, "Yeah, I stopped at a bookstore on the way here and spent all my money, so you guys have to buy dinner."
Shit.
Oh man. All right,
incredible.
guys.
Did we do it? Mahmud, that's incredible. That piece is fantastic.
Mahmud, that is just beautiful, man.
Hot damn.
That is gorgeous.
Dude, you rocked it.
That's so incredible.
Good. That's great.
Yeah.
Have you been drawing all day, man, and this is the end of your work day?
I did draw a bit, but today is a Sunday, so it was a bit of mix of stuff, So This was kind of like a blowing off steam kind of thing right now. So
so on your one day off, we forced you to
I know
to work, to draw.
Yeah, guys, thank you for spending a Sunday with us doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, this is badass. This is great. Hector Casanova, what's up, buddy?
Hello, Hector.
Let's see Jim's ad for Raise.
Guys, Raise.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Don't leave home without it. I think my favorite part of the drawing is Bill Slade right there.
Oh, he looks great, man.
So
That's
good.
awesome.
That's amazing. Love it.
I love the bugs
Sid
too.
is so good.
You did
Sid
nice work on the bugs.
This is like possessed Sid. Like Sid looks
it's so
very,
good.
very psychotic here. So,
Right.
Jason, remember my pitch for the one shot. I will be available in 2027 to illustrate that book.
All right.
So keep it on the back burner for me, buddy. And
I think we're Mahmud and I are hopeful we'll still be doing Bug Wars in 2027. So we're not planning on going anywhere.
That sounds good to me. That's awesome. I'm ready for it. When does issue 2 drop?
Next month. Yeah, March 19th or something like that, maybe. Like a couple.
Okay, cool.
Nice. The second print of issue 1 comes out like the week before. So if you missed the first printing, it's sold out pretty quickly. So second printing's coming, and then issue 2 will be right after that.
Congrats, you guys. Sean, that piece looks dope. Can you show that again, man?
That's amazing. Sure.
That's awesome.
Love what you did with the leaf. Can you show me the legs a little bit closer? I love the technique. Looks amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Really nice, man.
All right, guys.
Sorry, I didn't draw anything. Sorry, guys.
Someone in the chat was like, someone in the chat said, "Where's Jason's drawing?"
Well, look, I can show you. I did a signing at Third Eye Comics for issue 1 the other day, and somebody brought me this like hand carved, like
that's
Bug
nice.
Wars thing. Like, it's pretty cool.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
Cool.
Pretty cool.
That's
good.
Oh, damn, nice.
So nice bit of woodworking.
Jason, can you hold on, Jason, for a second there? I just want to look at the bookshelf. I always want to see what people. Look at this. We got some Eisners. We got Invisibles. We got nice, man.
Yeah, it's
the
like
art.
This is like stuff that inspires me, and like the other side is stuff that I wrote.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then the artist editions are in their own section because they're too big to be on the bookshelf.
Yeah, they're kind of down. Yeah, you can see some there.
Yeah.
They're down
Oh
there.
shit, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Got it.
Nice, man.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks, fellas. I guess that's about it. Jim, anything you got to say before we sign
out? Sean, we're doing a show this Wednesday, right?
Yeah. Oh, Jamie, play that ad real quick. We forgot to do that.
Let's do it.
This is funny. Oh, hell yeah, Jim. That's some of the best comics right there. Hernandez Brothers for life.
What's up, Holmes? Let me tell you, amigo, these are some of the freshest comics ever made from the West Coast, man.
Jim, what the hell are you doing?
Don't even worry, man. I used to live in LA, Sean. I'm considered the 4th Hernandez brother.
Jim, you're not the 4th Hernandez brother. You're overcompensating. Let's just get together on Inkpulp Live and let's celebrate the awesome work of Love and Rockets together.
You're right, Sean. I'll not do this character anymore. It's probably offensive, but looking at the beautiful artistry of these guys, we're celebrating Love and Rockets, man. Oh, whoa. Did you hear that?
Yo, my lowrider is here, Holmes. Adios, amigo.
Well, hopefully Jim will leave that character behind, but join us on February 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, because Jim and I are going to get down with some Love and Rockets. Orale. So good. So everyone, join us Wednesday.
Wednesday special show. And guys, did you want to shout out your social media? Can you plug where people can follow you?
Hell yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the best way to follow me is on my Substack. Just under Jason Aaron. Like, I've sent it out semi regularly. Like, that's the best place to keep up with where I'll be and what I'm doing.
Perfect. Mahmud,
you can find me almost anywhere with my name at Mahmud Asrar. I don't have a Substack yet, but I'm thinking about it.
Oh yeah, you should. That's nice.
That's the way to go. And Inkpulp currently just launched a Patreon and a Discord. So you guys join us over there. The Discord is popping off, and we have like a whole crazy community of artists over there.
The Discord's amazing.
Sharing art. Like, it's so inspiring to see it. It's It's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing, and the Patreon's going great. So guys, $5 a month, join up.
Both of those links in the description of this live.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Jamie.
Cool.
Jazzy Jamie Wood, thank you so much for always
Thank you
being
guys
here.
for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie. James.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
You
Thanks
guys
for
are the
coming on,
best.
guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fantastic, man. I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot
I
from
did
this.
too. And Jay, I'll see you in a few weeks, Jason.
I mean, I learned nothing, but I still had a good time. We'll do
I
this
understand.
over dinner sometime.
Yes. Hey, you guys, while we sign off, hang on just so we can say goodbye to you off camera, if that's cool.
Sure.
Awesome.
good to
Thanks
go.
for everybody who joined in the chat.
All right.
We appreciate you guys.
Cheers, guys.